Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. So you're a parody artist, singer. You do these awesome. I don't know what else to say other than like I consider you kind of like the Weird Al of the horror community. Is that fair to say?
I think that's fair to say. That's kind of the moniker that's been thrown around now, and I've adopted it. So yeah, the Weird Al of horror. I like it.
Yeah, hell yeah. And I mean, I've seen you do other films and stuff like that, but
Mhm.
it seems like most you mostly like to do horror films.
For the last 4 years, it's been primarily horror.
Oh,
Before
right
that,
on.
I did other things. I released an album prior to the horror, so I kind of branched out. So like recently, I did the Princess Bride, but um,
Yeah,
yeah, for the pretty much everything else has been horror for the last like 4 years or so.
right on. What's your process? How do you like what inspires you to like? Is it just like you find movies that you love, you know other people are gonna love, or what is that? How's that work for you?
Yeah, I always like to say that when I do the parodies, it's a tribute to both the music and the movies I love. So if I have to love the song that I'm doing a parody of, and I have to love the movie because the process is a lot more fun and easy if I do it that way.
Yeah,
But yeah, for the most part, I'll think to myself, what movie haven't I done yet? And now I'll have the radio playing. I'm always on Sirius, and I like to kind of spread it out, different things, 90s alt, 80s country. So I'll have different stations playing, and a song will come on, and usually I'm like, oh, that'll work for that movie. Um, and so I'll give it a go lyrically, and if it works, then I kind of run with it. If it doesn't, then I keep looking. But yeah.
I mean, I see the guitars in the background. Have you always been a musician? Are you do you come from like the classic like musician training school?
My family wasn't musical per se, but they supported music. But as at a young age, I loved music, listening to it, singing. I was in choirs and choruses from ever since I was a kid. I was in band.
Okay.
So yeah, I've been doing something musically pretty much all my life.
Cool, cool. Yeah, I mean, honestly, the reason I ask is like when I look at these or when I listen to these songs, like they're not like just silly songs. Like they're actually very well performed, and I can hear that like you sound like a trained vocalist. Like you really do know what you're doing. You know?
No, I appreciate that. I really do try. I always say to myself, I don't want to just, um, you know, I do pride myself on the lyrics and everything, but I also want to make something that I think people would want to listen to. So I try and make the recordings sound as good as possible, as good as they possibly can vocally. I love doing harmonies. Most of the time, if there's backing tracks on a song, that's me doing the harmonies and all that. Um, I have a couple people that I work with that will do the music tracks and then the mixing and the production.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
every once in a while, because that's it's a cost thing. It costs money to do all that. So
Mm,
there's times where I might just try and kind of mix it myself, and if it sounds passable, I'll go with it. But I do want it to sound as good as possible. Like if I'm putting it on an album or putting it out there. So yeah.
totally. Yeah, I think people. I don't know if people appreciate that or not, but I know that if you didn't go through the effort, people would notice that
Yeah.
might not
Mhm.
sound great or whatever.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Have you always been a horror fan? Have you always
Yeah.
been super
Yes.
into horror? Yeah, me too.
From day one. Yeah, I like
Yeah,
6, 7. I was watching. I was a you know I was I'm was a kid. I was a kid in the '80s. So
yep.
6, 7 years old. I'm watching Halloween '78 and The Thing and all those, and going to the video store and grabbing like 5 movies just because the cover looked cool. But yeah, I have always been a horror fan.
Yeah, me too. So people always ask me this question, and I never really know what to say. But I'm gonna ask you the same question. Was there a movie that really got you started?
Halloween '78 would
Oh,
likely be it. Now I was also raised on Hitchcock. My mom, who's wasn't a huge fan of the '80s horror, was a big fan of Hitchcock.
yeah,
So I actually watched like Psycho and the Birds at an
nice.
early age. So those were gateways. But I would say Halloween '78 was the one that really kind of sparked it all. And I said, I just love this genre.
What do you think it was about specifically about that one?
Just how well done it was, especially for the budget and everything. I don't think I thought about that then, but maybe in subconsciously I knew that they pulled that off with, what they had, which is
Yeah,
something I appreciate to this day, both with movies and music, with what I do and what I know a lot of filmmakers. And I love when, people can have a vision and they can come up with an idea that's really effective on a limited budget. But Halloween too, it's so simple and so basic, but they make it terrifying because of what it is. It's a this could happen to you kind of situation.
Yeah.
And I think that works for me too. It's a lot of my favorite movies, even I watch anything, but a lot of my favorite horror movies are the ones that feel like this is an everyday thing. This could happen, to you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember, well, at least for the first Halloween, part of the reason people said it was so scary was because you don't know why Michael Myers is doing that.
Right.
Like,
There's no origin or background. Yeah.
yeah, they don't go into his background at all. So of course I have to ask you, what did you think of the remake, the Rob Zombie version? Because that does go into the background.
Yeah. I prefer the original to the Rob Zombie versions. Like I said, I appreciate that he was a fan and he did. And I like a lot of Rob Zombie movies, like the House of a Thousand Corpses trilogy and Lords of Salem. I think I can see a time and a place for wanting to explore the origin story and for doing all that. For me, though, Halloween kind of works because the original works because it's so out of the gate. It's so mysterious. You don't get much except the little hints that Loomis is dropping early on about him being in the hospital, the psych hospital, and all that. That's all you get, and so I do prefer that take on it. In this case, there are times where I like remakes better than the original, but this one where I like Halloween, I prefer Halloween.
Yeah, I mean, that's also a movie that gave birth to a genre, really.
Slasher, yeah.
Yeah, we wouldn't have a lot of the stuff that we love without that. And then I gotta ask too, I mean, was it, when you saw that for the first time, was it something that scared you, or were you more just, like, intrigued by it?
I don't know if I've ever remembered really being scared by a horror movie. That was not my appeal to it. I don't think.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, movies themselves don't generally scare me. I mean, I can get tense and I think they're intense and they can be terrifying, kind of thing. Like, oh, this is exciting. But there's always been more of a fun excitement for it to me. In the back of my head, I'm always thinking, as much as I can immerse myself in the movie, I remember even early on, I was thinking to myself, how did they do this? How did they make that happen? So the process of the film making was always in my head enough that I think I don't get scared by them. There's some video games that have scared me, but
interesting. Yeah, no, I'm the same way, man. I mean, when people say a movie's scary, it never does anything for me. Maybe, I don't know if I'm just like messed up or.
I mean, I'm right there with you if we are. So, people will say, I'll post about a movie I just saw, and the people say, "Is it scary?" And I'm like, "It might be," because everyone has a different threshold for that.
And I've said this a few times, but the one movie that it actually did scare me when I was younger was Jaws.
One of my favorite movies, but
mine too. But in the sense that like it stayed with me for a long time, and I don't like going in the ocean because of that movie. Still,
I can see.
Is there anything that you can think of that had that sort of effect on you, or not really?
Offhand, no, I don't think I can't think of anything that would have like. There definitely were movies in the 70s and 80s that I watched that stuck with me and hit me on a kind of an emotional level and because of how tense or intense or scary they were, I guess you could say. But nothing that I don't think, like people say they didn't go in the water after Jaws, and I get that, but it didn't, I can't remember a movie having quite that effect on me. I mean, maybe there were times when I was a kid, obviously, if I had to go down to the basement to do laundry or something. Yeah, I took a pause, because I was watching all these movies and you look down the dark basement and but I can't really think of anything. So let's say the closest that happened to me that did have me looking over my shoulder a little bit was back in 2020 when Host came out, because I thought that was really well done as a scary movie.
Yeah, right on. I will say, like, sometimes the jump scares obviously kind of get, but not
Oh
in
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
not like in a scary way. It's just I think when a jump scare is like really well done and it actually like makes you jump.
I think
I'm just,
that's instinct, right? That's like just
yeah, and then I'm just like good job guys, like you got me,
yeah.
you know. But it
Uh,
doesn't scare me. Yeah,
yeah. Well, speaking of that, I always think like Host again was one of the movies recently that did jump scares really well because
yeah.
they did them in a really creative way that you didn't see coming, and they definitely got me a few times. I
Well, so what are like some of like let's say you're talking to somebody who's just never seen a horror film and they're looking to like get their feet wet. What are a few of your like Mount Rushmore like you gotta see this movie would you
well,
recommend?
Jaws definitely. I'm a big
Mm,
shark movie fan, and Jaws is the pinnacle, obviously.
yeah.
So Jaws is up there. Psycho. If someone's looking for something classic that works, my favorite movie of all time, horror or otherwise, is Train to Busan.
Oh yeah.
Um,
That's a good one.
so that would definitely be one I would recommend because it has everything I think for me personally everything that I want in a horror movie. It's emotional. It's got some really great intense action scare scenes. Um, so that one I like a lot of Asian films.
Yeah.
Japanese, Chinese, uh, Korean films. The Eye from the Pang brothers is
Mm,
2002. That's one that I put up there really high. And then I would say definitely Halloween 78 is in the top five there.
yeah. And then like if you were to have do you have a comfort movie like one that you've seen a million times and just you're ready for bed and you just throw it on?
There's a lot, but I always like to say I know it's a recent one, but Anna and the Apocalypse is up there for
Oh,
me. It's because it combines my two loves. It's a horror musical
mm,
with zombies, and I love zombie films. So that's one that I can always put on, and it always makes me feel good when it's on. But also from the heyday, I would say Chopping Mall is a big one.
oh,
I
nice.
love Chopping Mall. That's and I've gotten to talk to like because with the way things have happened, like Kelly Maroney and Barbara Crampton have been on my feed,
Yeah.
and I've gotten to I've gotten to say that to them. So it's been if you would have told '80s kid me that I'd be chatting with Kelly Maroney and Barbara Crampton, decades later, I would have laughed. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's been really cool. But yeah, Chopping Mall is a big one.
That's awesome. And I do love that. I do love that about Twitter. I've had a few
Yeah,
similar interactions with people.
yeah, it's really
Yeah.
cool.
Um So yeah, I mean, going back to your music, are there any movies that you? Well, I don't know if you can say this, but I mean, are there any movies that you're looking to do or that you want to do?
Yeah, I sat down and wrote my list, and I've got like 15 ideas that are
Nice.
currently brewing. Tremors was one that I've been wanting to do forever, and people have been asking because I'm a huge fan of the Tremors franchise. So I finally said that's the time has come. So I'm working on a Tremor song now.
Nice.
Yeah, but there's a couple others. Pumpkinhead, I want to do a song for, and I have an idea for that one. Um, uh, trying to think of
Well,
my list,
and
but yeah, there's definitely a few that I've got to hit still.
when you are coming up with these, do you usually pick the movie first, or do you hear a song and you're like, oh, that would be a good song to?
It depending on the song, it's been different. There are times where I've had a song and I'm like, what movie can I work into this? I've got one coming up in the pipeline that fit that one. But there are also times where I've heard or I've had the movie and I'm like, what song can I work with this? The Tremor song is an example of that, where I knew I wanted to do Tremors. I was like, what can I do? And I was trying to think of something clever. I hope I came up with it. But so it can work either way. I'll hear the song. Which one? A recent one. It's Ricky, the Christmas one I did for Silent Night, Deadly Night 2.
Oh, cool.
Run DMC came on the radio and it's Tricky, and I was like, oh, it's Ricky. That's It's right there. I got to run with that. So same with the Inconceivable for Princess Bride. So I'll hear like Unbelievable, and I'll be like, it's inconceivable. I'm like, there we go. So that happens a lot where I'll hear the movie in the song. But there are definitely times where I want to do the movie so bad I go looking for something that'll work for it.
Yeah. Do you find yourself like watching movies and just like singing along like silly stuff as you watch?
Oh yeah, all the time. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, hey man, I'm gonna change things up real quick. I'm gonna do a little segment I like to call
Questions from the Internet.
I got some questions from the internet that were submitted, and funny enough, this one was already asked, so I think I just got one right now. What's something that you want to sing about, or a tune to sing to that you haven't found the right fit for yet?
So a song that I haven't found the right fit for.
Yeah, or something that you want to sing about, haven't found the right fit for yet.
I've hit most of the ones that were on my bucket list recently. I don't know. I think for the most part right now, when I look down my list, I have ideas for. There were I could say one, Studio 666. I definitely wanted to do a Studio 666 song. And my friend, a couple of that were big fans, were like, well, you got to do a Pearl Jam song to it because that would be funny because of the Pearl Jam high five thing. I tried, but as much as I love Pearl Jam, at least for me, I found their songs are really hard to parody because I like to find rhyme schemes within the music already that I can work with and kind of a flow. And Pearl Jam songs don't work like that. So I was racking my brain, and I did eventually figure out a song for it that is in the pipeline. But that was one for a while. I was like, I could not figure out. One that I did do for a while is I was looking for. I'm a big shark movie fan. I love all the shark movies, the crazy ones, the good ones, and I'd say for about 2 years I was trying to figure out the perfect song to do that. Then last year I was We Didn't Start the Fire came on, and I'm like, oh, it's got to be a list song. So I ended up doing the shark movie parody, the ode to shark movies to the We Didn't Start the Fire. But other than that, I think right now most of the ideas or the movies I want to work with, I've found a good marriage, and I have them on the back burner.
Yeah. And you know what? It's funny. There was one more question that I think somebody misunderstood what I was asking, and they wanted me to ask you if you could please parody somebody that I used to know.
Did they give an idea for what to do with it, or just?
No, they just said that would be a good song to parody, and I mean,
that would be fun. I can figure something. Yeah. I can play with that. I do get. I get ideas all the time. Like people will DM me and be like,
nice.
and as much as I can, because I've always got so many ideas lined up as it is. So I will. I will try. But a lot of the songs that I've released in the last 4 years, a handful of them at least, were ideas from other people that I worked into something. Basket Case was brought John, who I did that with, brought that DM me and wanted to do that. And I love the idea. But I could definitely figure out something for that one. I do love that song. I've been listening to that one.
Yeah.
Good one.
Yeah, it's a good catchy one for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's high though. I'll have to be in good voice day.
Yeah.
That's a high song.
Well, and you got the two parts. You got the ladies.
And you got the two parts too. That's fun though. I like working with other people. I've had a lot of people join in with songs.
Nice.
So that I do like to mix vocals as much as I can.
Nice.
And get other people in.
The other thing I was going to mention was and correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like you do a video for every song that you do, right?
Yeah. I don't know why that started that way, but now I can't not do it. I don't know. It just for me, it's a package deal now. I figure people I just kind of assume that makes it clickable if there's a video to go along with the song. And that's become my favorite part. I was not a video editor, 5-6 years ago when I started. So that's been a learning curve thing. But, because everything I do is based on a movie, it's fun to get all the clips and everything in there. So that's become one of my favorite parts of the process is putting together a video with all the clips and everything.
Have you ever had an issue like trying to upload to YouTube and like you get hit with copyright for like?
Oh, almost everything on my YouTube channel has a claim on it. Yeah, I can't
Oh
monetize.
wow.
There's only a
Oh,
few. There's because I've done some original songs, so those aren't claimed. But ironically, I was like to say every once in a while a parody will slip through and not get a claim on it. I shouldn't say that out loud, but
nice.
but it's not a strike, so they don't take down my channel or anything. I just can't monetize.
Hmm. Yeah, I was wondering about that because I would think it's considered fair use because you're doing a parody, but then if you're
Fair use with parody is tricky because they say in the rule that the parody has to be a direct parody of the source material, which I don't do that. But then I've heard that that's not the song. Is it like if your parody song is somehow a parody of what the original is, that's fair use. But just taking a song and making different lyrics, they say that that's a tricky one that might not be fair use. Like I said, that said, I think because I'm small potatoes on YouTube, they don't really hasn't really been an issue. It's just I can't YouTube. So to do that, I have to do like Bandcamp and the album and everything, and the albums. But yeah, there's like 2 or 3 parodies that aren't claimed, and and 2 of them are the Weird Al parodies.
huh,
So where I parodied a Weird Al original, those don't have claims on them.
that's
I was gonna
interesting.
say that would be ironic if I got a copyright claim for parodying the Weird Al original song. But yeah,
That
I
I
did
mean,
VHS to UHF. That one doesn't. I don't think that has a claim on it.
wow, yeah, it makes me wonder how Weird Al gets away with it, but I guess he
He
has
asked
deep,
permission. He
yeah,
always asks permission. But yeah,
yeah, and he's got the deep pockets to pay for it.
yeah. hmm Yeah, and
Hmm.
unlike him, I always do try, and I mean, I never make the claim. Like I always put new lyrics by Jeff Whitmire and then parody of the song, because I want to pay tribute to who it is. I try back in the early day, I tried to reach out and ask permission, but I have never heard back from any musicians, so I don't. I know he's got his channels that work for him, but yeah, um, he actually reaches out and asks permission before he puts them out.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, for
Yeah.
what you do, I think that would be pretty hard because you got to ask permission to like a
Yeah.
studio,
Yeah.
and
That's still my dream. I just one time I want a musician to weigh in on the song, and I can't remember time it's happened. I'll tag like when we did Basket Case, I tagged Green Day in it.
nice.
I tagged DMF and Inconceivable, so I'll still tag the original artist. I know musicians it's a little trickier because they're protective of their lyrics and their songs, so they might not always be like, "Yeah, parody of my song." Um, but
Yeah.
it would be cool just to hear from a musician that they liked, what they like. Have someone say, "Hey, I'm a big horror fan. I like what you did with our," that'd be cool. But that's
Yeah.
yet to happen.
I mean,
Movie
with
people, yes, but not music people.
yeah, but I mean, with like Twitter and stuff nowadays, like we were saying, like who knows? You could tag a musician and maybe they
hmm
like it and retweet it for you or
Yeah,
whatever. So yeah, I would say keep it going and see.
it would be cool. I'm hope that's like fingers crossed. One of these days, I find the right one, and the musician goes, "Yeah, this is cool. I like this."
Do you have anything in the pipeline now to that you want to shout out or plug for us real quick?
Yeah, I'm working on a second horror movie album. I dropped my first one September 1st last year. That was Stabby Road. Was my first album of all horror movie parodies and originals. I'm currently working on my second one, which is going to be called Direct to Video
Nice.
and Direct number 2 video. And yeah, pretty soon. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm putting on it, how I'm going to work with it, because there's a lot of songs locked up. But I'm going to be running a Kickstarter soon, a Kickstarter and Indiegogo to help fund the cost of the production and the graphics and everything.
Nice. Very cool. And real quick, where's if people don't know you, where can they find you? What's your yeah?
Yeah,
Where do they find you?
my YouTube channel where I upload all the videos is Jeff Whitmire 47. I'm also on Bandcamp at jeffwhitmire.bandcamp.com. That's where all the studio versions of tracks go, including my album is on there for digital and physical release. So you can go there and get physical copies or digital downloads. And then I'm on Twitter, and I'm very active on Twitter because I do a lot of live watches and stuff. Jeff Whitmire 1.
Nice. And where do you do your live watches at? Like, oh, just on Twitter, you mean? Or
We do
like,
them on we do them on Twitter. It's basically start the movie or the show at a certain time, and then we all do them Sunday nights. I started a Twilight Zone one. We've had an X-Files one that's been a couple friends and I have had going for a couple of years. We're on season 5.
wow.
And then I also do a Screenbox one on a weekly basis where we watch a movie on Screenbox because I'm a big fan of the streaming service.
Nice. Well, hell yeah. Well, hey man, I'm gonna wrap this up, but thank you so much for coming. And
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, definitely gonna have to have you back down the road, and looking forward to that album, man.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks a lot.
All right, peace, guys. We'll see you next time.